You ask a question about politics and what I learned from my political background. You have a political background too, and I think that it's really interesting. If we were to plan our career to say we're going to end up here, we couldn't have planned it better. Now, I didn't plan this, but the reason I say that is, what are the key skill sets for today? Multimedia. Have to know about multimedia, right? Second one is, I think it's grassroots, because social media is all about grassroots, right? So having that political background and understanding of what an individual can ignite from a wildfire standpoint, what a small group, pick whatever constituency, we call them constituencies in politics, now they're communities, there is an element of being sensitive to that and communicating with those groups. So I think, to answer your question about what did you learn from politics and how do you apply it to blogging, I think politics allowed me to understand and appreciate communities and even the power of an individual idea. Because, back then in the 80s, right, I'm really dating myself, but back then the individual idea had to go through some channel and had to be blessed. Now, it doesn't. It has to be not blessed, but it's embraced and improved upon by the larger group. So that's really what I learned from politics and how I apply it now.
Sure. So you spend a lot of time doing your podcast and everything. What do you do? What do you do for a living?
That is brilliant. Yeah, I would say I do social media consulting for a living, but clearly there's no living in social media consulting. I jest. A little dark humor for you. So that's really what I do for a living. Consult with companies on social media strategy, do some execution, but I'm you know me, David. I'm always trying to think what's beyond where we are today. I think at the Social Media Breakfast, I raised a question that 2010, I think social media is in a very dangerous spot, because social media is trying to prove effectiveness as a, I don't want to call it industry, but as a mode of communication. And I think a lot of companies are looking at it as, what did you sell today? And they're trying to apply old paradigms, how many thousand people did we reach, to a new paradigm, which is, I could really tell you exactly how many people we reached. And for companies to use that old paradigm of, oh, well, there's 200,000 subscribers to this newspaper, and be happy with that, and then come over to social media and say, well, oh, you only have 100 people who came to your store? What's 100 people? And I think that is so disjointed. It's comparing apples to oranges, number one. Number two is, it's not acknowledging that the old paradigm was flawed, right? This is floored is hard for a New Yorker to say, by the way. Not floored like I'm floored, but flawed, like there's an error in that. That's the kind of place I'm going to next, which is, what should we be looking at? What should the expectation be? And inside a company, there's a difference between social culture and social tactics. You have a wonderful client named Izzy's Ice Cream, and you were kind enough to invite me to the presentation of Izzy's Flavor Up, which is a wonderful idea to let people know when their favorite flavor is available. That guy, Jeff Summers, and Izzy's is the perfect example of a social culture that cares about their product and understands and embraces their customer. And then they use social tactics along with it, and you've consulted with him numerous times and worked with him on that project and others. But that is, I think, one of the best examples of what companies need to be thinking about in the future. Do I want to be, as a company, a social culture? And how do I get there? Number one. Number two is, what does all this commentary online, how do I structure my company to react to the way people are participating online? And so I'll have a video soon of the Izzy's Ice Cream, but it's a wonderful example of social culture versus social tactics. And so I'm getting into that more and more.
Looking across the horizon.
Yeah.
How do people find you online?
So it's Albert Maruggi on Twitter.
Maruggi is spelled?
Maruggi. Albert Maruggi on Twitter. That's probably the best way. ProvidentPartners.net/blog is the blog for the Marketing Edge. But if you do a Albert Maruggi search, I'm prolific enough that you'll find me somehow.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk.
It was great being your friend, David, and you do great work, and I appreciate you interviewing me on this program.
Thank you.